Welcome back to Drive Your Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Master Coach Carrie Marshall, and it's time to go after those goals.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today is book review day. I love reading. I don't know if you know this about me, but I have been passionate about reading since I was about 5 years old. My mom would say that I would wait for my brother to come home from school, and that then he would come in and he'd sit down with me and he'd teach me all of the words that he learned at school. And so I really had a love of books and learning. One of my brothers really wasn't a big reader. And so before I could get to the school library when I was really young, I would actually ask him to get books for me. And so he would bring home books for me. So I've always had this love of reading. I read about 100 books a year. And I've always had a really big passion for self-development books. And so today I want to tell you about the very first self-development book I ever read and why it has been so important to my life. So growing up, my parents built a business, a dental practice, and they had never seen that modeled to them before. They both came from working class, blue collar families. One of my grandpas was a teacher. My other grandpa worked in a steel mill. And so as my parents built businesses, they had to really go out and figure out for themselves how to do that. And so a couple of things that they did was, number one, they would read books. Number two is they would get in masterminds or actually hire coaches. And so I've realized that now as I've become a coach, that really my parents did a great job kind of being an example of doing something that had never been done before. And so today what I want to do is I want to talk about this book called Leading an Inspired Life by Jim Rohn. This book has been really impactful in my life for several different reasons. But the first one is that we would read this as a family. So one of the things that we did growing up is my mom would read to us. And she started out with, fictional books. And so we would read things like The Best Pageant Ever, Indian in the Cupboard. And in our home, we had the boys' room and the girls' room, and they were right across from each other in the hallway. And my mom would just sit in the middle of the hallway at night and read so that we would keep both doors open. And then she just read really loudly. So I grew up not only loving reading, but having it be an example to me of how powerful books are. So we'd read really great books. But then the other thing as we got older is we would start to incorporate self-development books into that reading time. And so we'd read things like Leading an Inspired Life and The Millionaire Next Door. And so this book really was so impactful to me because as a young teen, I can't remember when we read it. I think I was 12. I'm not sure about that though with the timing, but I didn't know that this type of genre of book existed. I was up to that point just really heavy into fiction, and I'd read all the time. And so to actually unlock a completely different genre of book that talked about improving yourself was amazing to me. And so we read this book together, and I have read it several times. I read it about once every 2 years. And I noticed a couple days ago that I was just kind of needing a book to read that felt like home, but that would kind of pick me up and help me with this problem that I was having. And so I was going through my bookcase and I saw Leading an Inspired Life. And so I picked it up and started reading it, and it's been exactly what I needed. So like I said, the author is Jim Rohn. He is a self-development guru, really, really great at stories and including stories with then points. And so if you don't know Jim Rohn, you're going to want to look him up. But I just want to kind of read through a couple of different things. So the first thing that you need to know is this copy. I hope you're going to watch this on YouTube. It's really funny. But this copy was actually given to my husband and I by my dad. And I think that we were married. We had a little girl. our first baby. I think I was pregnant with my second. We had sold our townhome. We were trying to find a house and we were living with my parents. And so at the time, my dad gave us this book, hard copy, and he wrote, I love inscriptions, by the way. Everyone should write inscriptions in books. Total side note, but I like to get my books from thrift books. It's thriftbooks.com and they're all used books. And I love when I find a book that has an inscription. It is like the best thing ever. So my dad has an inscription in it. He wrote in it, magical things happen when you believe and work yourself towards your dreams. Love you, Rhett. Now, here's the best thing is that we're living with him. And in bold letters, he put at the bottom, now move out, which was kind of like our funny joke. We actually ended up moving out to the house right next door, which was really fun and a story for a different time. So let's talk about why leading an inspired life is so important. Number one is that what Jim has done with this book is he has broken it down into sections. And so what you can do is you can actually go through and you can just look at the very first guide, the contents, and you can just say like, what do I need today? And so you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can really go through and say, what do I need today? And so some of the things that he has is like chapter 1, a magic word, discipline. And then he goes through and has stories and then anecdotes and things like that. And like basically little essays within there. The art of personal development, setting compelling goals, power of ideas, the drive force of motivation, the qualities of a skillful leadership, communication, financial independence. So here's why I love this book so much is because once again, as I was growing up, we would read it cover to cover, but then as I've come back to it, I've really got to kind of dive into like, what do I want or what do I need help with? And so what I want to do is turn to page 64, which is setting compelling goals, because we do love talking about goals here. And so there's such a difference when we're reading something, if we're reading to consume versus reading to create. And so I want you, and this goes for any time you're reading a book, you're taking a course, you are at a retreat. There's such a huge difference between reading a book or doing those types of things to consume versus to create. If I'm consuming something, I might read cover to cover and not do anything about it, right? I consume a lot of fiction books. But if I'm creating from fiction, from a book, what I want to do is a couple of different things. Number one, highlight what is important to you, but it doesn't stop there. That's still consuming. The second thing that you want to do is then ask yourself, why is this impactful to me? And is there anything I want to do about it? You have to get in the process of learning how to go from a consumer to a creator. Because we want to be inspired. We want to live inspiring lives. We want to be inspired and really listen and lean into other people's words and what they're saying. But we have to then ask, why is it important to me? Why did I highlight this? And is there anything I'm going to do about it? So as I write in books or I have a book like this, I will actually have something highlighted and then I'll have words on the side or at the very back of the chapter where I actually then go through and say, that was important because, and this is what I'm going to do about it. So something that he says in here is, it's always amazed me the way average person devotes more thought and effort to planning his or her 2-week vacation than to planning their lives. So I want you to think about your last vacation that you went on. We're getting ready to go on a family vacation. Curtis and I are in charge of it. And so we've spent a lot of time planning out 5 days of our family vacation with my family. So it takes a lot of time in planning. You know, you have to figure out where you're staying, how you're going to get there, what you're going to be eating, the activities that you're going to have. We have kids from the age of 18 all the way down to 5. And so we have to think about a lot of different activities for a lot of different people. We always think a lot about the sleeping arrangements, if we're going to stay in hotels or VRBOs, who's going to get what room, like all of these things come into the planning of it. But I want you to think for yourself about the last time that you planned something like that. It could be a vacation. It could be a birthday. It could be anything like that, like kind of an event that you're doing. How much time did you spend on that? And then let's go back to your life. How much time do you spend actually creating your life? So when I wrote that and I highlighted it, right? I highlighted it, I'm still consuming. So then I asked myself, why is this important to me? Now, I wrote this when I think I was 25. And I said, this is really important to me because I can see that I'm not spending enough time planning out my life. I don't know how many kids I want to have, even though we have one right now. I don't know exactly what I want to be doing. I don't know if I want to be a stay-at-home mom or actually work. I really need to take this seriously. And so what I want to do from this is I want to start creating space every single quarter where I plan out my life. Not vacations, not events, actual life. That gets me almost teary-eyed thinking about that, because from there, what I started to do is I started to actually create small snippets every quarter where I could sit down and plan my life. That has been one of the best things I've done for myself, is taking a couple of hours on a weekend and look at my life and ask myself, how do I want to plan out my life? So that's your opportunity as we read. Do you see the difference of highlighting or just reading versus actually creating? It means so much when we can actually do this. So the next thing that I highlighted around goals says, any goal is powerful motivator only if there's a powerful reason behind it. That is one of the things that we've talked about before, is knowing your vision and your why for doing the thing that you're doing. So once again, I highlighted that and I actually put on here, I have a goal to be able to raise resilient, independent children. It's important to me because I want them to know that they can be successful, they can be contributing in society, and that they are going to have their own back when things get hard. A couple of things that I can do from this is really start to create something that helps them become independent, help them learn the tools and necessities to move forward at the different stages of their life. Once again, I wrote this when I had a baby, a little toddler, and I was pregnant. So from that, what I did was I created the program of Summer of Independence, which you can find on my YouTube channel. And what it is it's helping your children learn to be independent, learn the skills and necessities needed at the different phases of life that they're in. So when I had littles, my very first thing that I was teaching my toddler to do was to make her bed. And then we also learned how to pick out food that she wanted that was healthy. So we would start with something, we had something called our snack bin and our healthy bin. So we would go and we would say, okay, for lunch, you get one thing from the snack bin, and then you get two things from the healthy bin in the fridge. So this was helping my kids learn how to be independent, but learn how to learn the skills and the tools necessary to become a little bit more independent. And it started very small. Last year, I think I've shared this before, but last year, my teenager traveled by herself. She got on a plane, went to Hawaii. My mom was on the other side, but she had to plan out those things as she did it. And so that was actually really scary for me to send my kid and be like, okay, have fun, figure it out. And honestly, it was a disaster as far as flying goes. Her flight was canceled. She had to go back. There were a lot of struggles throughout it. She had to decide if she was going to call an Uber to get home, all of these things. And so it was a really, really good experience for her though. So I look at that and I tell myself the reason she was able to figure it out, book her flights, actually fly by herself, get herself to grandma in Hawaii, grandma and grandpa, was because she had built her skills. And so once again, a small thing, any goal is powerful motivator only if there's a powerful reason behind it. A small sentence in a book, then taken, highlighted, but then taken to the next level, can create a system of success for your life. It can mean anything to you when we're doing this. Last one that I want to share. Goal setting is very important first step, but goal achievement is a continuous lifelong process. And so then I wrote out, what is goal achievement? I said, goal achievement is looking back and being proud of myself for the things that I've done. Here's a list of my goal achievements. And so then I went through and I listed out my goal achievements. And then I said, what do you want to do with this? I want to create another list of achievements of what I want to have this list look like in 3 to 5 years. And then I went on and created that list. I love being able to have a book that means so much to me. I love being able to have a book that not only has the author's words in it, but it has my own words in it as well. Because the author was the base of success and learning the magic of your own power. You all, whether it's listening to a podcast, reading, going to a retreat, like I said, there's so many different ways that we consume, but that's only the first step of creation. You have to be willing to consume and listen enough to then get your own words of wisdom that come to you. Very quick, the last thing that I want to share with you is 2 rules for goal setting. And this is what it says. The first rule, don't set your goals too low. Don't join an easy crowd, you won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the demands are high. Go where the pressure is to perform, to grow, to change, to read, to study, to develop new skills. Where are you going to grow? That is one of the best things that we do in coaching is I create a environment for my clients to grow. I'm actually going today with one of my clients to do an all-day intensive coaching retreat. It's just the 2 of us. We spend all day on her goals, and it's fascinating to see the different things that come up when we coach for an all-day intensive versus just seeing each other every week. That's one of the things that I offer with my year-long coaching program, and it's been really powerful. But I want you to think about, where do you go to grow? And I wrote in here, I need to figure out a new group of friends that help me grow and become the next version of myself. And that was something that I was able to do, which was really fun. Rule number 2, are you ready? Here comes Jim Rohn's 2 rules for goal setting. Number 2, don't compromise. Don't sell out. There were some things back in the early years from which I paid too big a price. If I had known how much it was going to cost me, I would have never paid that price. But I didn't know it at the time. So don't sell out. And as the old saying goes, count the costs. So occasionally what we'll do is we'll actually put things on the line that maybe we shouldn't for our goals. You really need to know, just like it says here, don't compromise and don't sell out. And that goes back to your values. Don't compromise and don't sell out your values and what you're wanting for that one thing. I had one of my clients that built a really successful multi-million-dollar business, but it was at the expense of his family. And I asked him, if you would have gone back, what would you have done differently? And he said, I would have gone slower because I know I could have still succeeded, and I would have included my family in a lot more parts of my life. So you can see how much I love this book. That was one section of this incredible book. I really could not offer a better book for you. If you're just looking for something to inspire you, something to help you maybe get out of a rut, something to inspire your creativity, to know what you need to do in life, this really has helped me so much in my life. And it's been such a great blessing for my husband and I. And here's the best part, is that my dad leaves money in books so that if we read it, we get a little extra treat. Thanks, Dad, for the 20. I actually love to leave my money in my book because It's so abundant when I open up a book, and I actually forgot it was there. That's why you see complete delight on the video of me finding the money that my dad left in the book for me. So super fun. I just really want to encourage all of you, like, find your passion for life, find your passion for learning, find your passion for, learning the next steps that you need. Like I said, I found it through books. I know my husband's not a big reader. And so he finds his passion through talking with people and really being able to hear their stories and connecting with them. And so he actually sometimes even will come and come back and if you love to get your passion from people, what you can do is go meet people, network, but then what are you doing afterwards so that it wasn't just a really fun night? Are you taking it now from consuming to now creating? Are you sitting down and telling yourself, what was important that I heard from the person that I connected with, and what do I want to do about it? So this has been really fun. Hide money in books. It's delightful. Go out, find some books that really motivate you. Right before we leave, I just want to share a couple of things that you can do right now from this book. So like I said, I started reading it again. And what I'm doing this time is I'm writing down powerful questions that Jim has included in the book. And so even in the first chapter, here's what you can take away from this. And these are powerful questions that you can now take in with yourself, write down, and see what comes up for you. What will it take for me to do this? What must I do? What must I become to get all I want from life? What is at the core of achieving a good life to me? Why do I fall short of my objectives? Why do I wander aimlessly? Why do I settle for a life of existence than a life of substance? Take those questions, go and figure them out for yourself, and then pick up Leading an Inspired Life by Jim Rohn and come over to Instagram. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about this book or other books that are inspiring you right now. As soon as we launch this podcast episode, I'm actually going to include my entire book list of the books that have been personal development books that have meant the most to me. So go ahead and follow me over on Instagram, and I'll see you there. Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to get in the driver's seat of your own life, you can come and follow me at Drive Your Thoughts Coaching on Instagram, or come and see more ways to work with me at driveyourthoughts.com.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.